Los Angeles, California. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. And by the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today in our second hour. As its new term begins today, the U.S. Supreme Court faces fallout from its rightward shift. The justices have returned from their summer recess and are poised to wade right back into divisive issues on guns, free speech, race, and likely some key decisions that will impact the 2024 elections. And so, in hour two, Emmy award-winning filmmaker Dawn Porter joins us to showcase her latest project. It's called Deadlocked: How America Shaped the Supreme Court, a four-part documentary series currently playing on Paramount Plus with Showtime. We'll do that in hour two. In our third hour, two conversations. Up first, a conversation with the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, about shepherding one of the nation's largest cities in this critical American moment. And who else would you want to talk to on the day you launch in the Windy City on WVON 1690 AM? More on that in a moment. But also in hour three,
if you want something to play with, go and find yourself a toy. Baby, my time is too expensive, and I'm not a little boy. If you are serious, don't play with my heart, it makes me furious. But if you want me to love you, then baby, I will. Girl, you know I will. Tell it like it is.
legendary singer, songwriter, and Grammy Hall of Famer Aaron Neville joins us to talk about his new memoir. What else would you call it? Tell It Like It Is, My Story. Finally, Neville tells his personal story of overcoming poverty, racism, addiction, and loss through faith, family, and music. I look forward to a powerful and rich conversation after we speak with Mayor Johnson, with Aaron Neville today in our third hour. In a moment, we'll commence today's show talking politics with our regular contributor, civil rights attorney, and towering public intellectual Connie Rice, after I take a moment to say how humbled I am that this program is now heard on WVON, the voice of the Negro, 1690 AM in the city of Chicago. To Melody Span Cooper and the amazing team at this black-owned and operated iconic heritage station, I am profoundly grateful for the opportunity to return to the airways of my beloved city of Chicago. So to all my friends, family, and followers in Chicago, I owe you a debt, and I will spend every day doing my level best to bring you a program that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you, starting right now with Connie Rice. Connie, how are you today?
Hey, Tavis, congratulations, the Shy.
Yeah, the Shy, yeah. Exactly.
Listen,
yeah, go ahead. You first.
Yeah, I'm vaxxed and taxed. Got my vaccine and paid my taxes, okay?
Yeah, we should all be vaxxed and taxed right about now. There is so much political stuff to get into in this hour, but I thank you for the congratulations. It's an honor to be on in Chicago and Philly and New Orleans. All these stations are rolling in one at a time, and Chicago is a big deal. I said to somebody last night that when you get to 3 or 4 of the top 5 cities in this country in just a matter of weeks, it's a big deal. So I'm humbled by the persons who are coming online online, the various affiliates coming online regularly, carrying our program. And today it's Chicago. So I love the city of Chicago and look forward to talking to Mayor Johnson in our third hour. That's it. Let's jump right in. Well, matter of fact, let me do this. I'm looking at the clock. If I start, I know you, especially on this first issue, it's going to take you more than a few seconds. So let me just give the audience a sense of where we're going to go in this hour. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about. The Trump trial is underway right now, literally. The first of these many trials that we're going to see during this campaign. This is the one, the civil case. Has already decided, the judge in this case, that Trump inflated his financial statements. And now he will make a ruling in this case that will no doubt affect Trump's future as a businessman and maybe even this race. So the trial regarding his overinflating his worth, his financial statements. That's the trial that starts today. It's underway even as we speak. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the government shutdown that was narrowly averted. This weekend, we thought that things might go differently. Kevin McCarthy finally figured it out. You got to work with Democrats. Connie and I said that weeks ago. He figured it out, and that's been avoided. And yet, Matt Gaetz out of Florida has said he's going to call for a voice vote to vacate Speaker McCarthy. So Republicans are going at it today. We'll talk about that. Today is the first term, as you heard me say earlier. We'll talk about it more in our second hour. But today is the first day of the new term for the Supreme Court. You know, Attorney Connie Rice will have some thoughts about that. And Gavin Newsom, the governor here in the state of California, where I'm sitting right now, has picked LaFonza Butler to fill Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat. You know, she passed away last week. I got some thoughts about that myself, some commentary on that. I'm not happy about this. I'll tell you why when we come forward, and we'll get Connie's take on it as well. Lots to talk about in this first hour. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfected like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Coming 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Deal it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bussin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450 mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with CHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Reggie was a nurse for 16 years.
I had become very burnt out. I wasn't making good money.
Then it happened.
There was an ad for My Computer Career, and it just spoke to me.
My Computer Career was the best decision he ever made.
I could study anywhere from my laptop, and I was working in the first couple weeks of me being in class.
Reggie hit a home run.
The field is teeming with jobs.
Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
The school is amazing.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
At City National, we listen to you.
I want to expand my business and my legacy.
I want to set up the next generation for success.
I want to see my vision come to life.
I want to feel right at home. Your goals, passions, vision, future. We want to hear it and work alongside you to achieve it. Visit cnb.com to learn more. City National Bank. Here for our clients and communities.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
All right, Connie Rice, let's jump. We will start with the Trump trial that is underway even as we speak, the first of many that likely will come down the pike between now and Election Day 2024. This is the one, once again, about inflating his financial statements brought by Letitia James, the Attorney General in New York State. Take it away, Connie Rice.
Yeah, Attorney James, boy, she got a slammed and jammed opinion from this judge on Friday, Tavis. In summary judgment, which is basically a sort of first step motion that says kick this case out because, or either kick this case, which is what Trump was saying, because there are no issues. And Attorney James said, not only are there no issues, not only are there issues, but, Your Honor, you should rule in our favor on the findings of fraud because there are no issues of fact about fraud. It's screaming neon clear that this man for decades has defrauded banks through filing false statements about the worth of his properties in order to get more favorable loans, more favorable loan rates, and access to financial instruments that he shouldn't have had access to if they had really known that he didn't have a 30,000-foot apartment in his Trump Towers. It was 2,000 square feet. So he inflated the value, as you said. Now, the judge came out with a blistering. I mean, you needed Kevlar gloves to handle this opinion. It was piping hot. Okay, he didn't just rule fraud, Tavis. He read massive fraud. Trump's entire business enterprises in New York State are based on massive fraud. So most of the case is done. That what's left is how much money is he going to have to pay, and is he going to have to sell his buildings? Is he going? His companies are now had their corporate certificates revoked, which means that none of his New York corporations are in business. There is an out of order sign on Trump Enterprises in New York State. This is a dagger aimed at his financial empire, but it is not a criminal case. There's nobody going to jail. It's just going to be a massive amount of money. And Attorney General James has asked for $250 million in damages. This judge might go higher.
And why do you think the judge may go higher in this case?
Because we don't know on the basis of what the damages are going to be based. Is it going to be on the difference between the interest rates of which he should have been eligible for as opposed to what he got? Is it going to be that difference? Is it going to be the entire, for example, if he built a building, an entire skyscraper built on false, is he going to have to sell that building? We don't know on what basis the damages are going to be based. That's what we'll find out today, maybe.
One of the things I thought about over the weekend when we saw this case coming and he tried to avert it, as I said earlier, the judge said absolutely not. And by the way, we should also mention that this is not one of those jury trials. This is a judge who is going to make this rendering. And given what he's already said, you heard Connie lay it out a moment ago, you get a good sense of where this judge is headed in this case. And that's why Connie, in part, says he may even go higher. He's already given us a good sense of the way he sees this particular case. That said, one of the things I thought about when we saw this coming on Monday, Connie, is to take you back to the campaign and how and the ways in which Donald Trump, as the first candidate ever, got away with not releasing any tax information. And this is why it matters when people are running for the highest office in the land that they reveal the kinds of information that voters have a right to know if they want to lead the country. And so he's the first person ever to sort of get away with not releasing any of his financials. And now that this thing has come full circle, of course, he's out of office now, running once again for the White House, could win. We shall see. But what does this say to you, at least, about the value of voters getting a look-see at your financials, which, again, he was able to avoid all during that campaign, both campaigns?
It's absolutely essential. He's the only presidential candidate and president who never divulged his worth or his tax returns. And the Democrats, when they had all three branches of government under their control, they didn't pass the law that would have required all U.S. presidential candidates to hand over their tax returns. So I that's just one more mark against the Democrats, because when they have power, they don't use it.
Yep.
So absolutely. The thing of it is, he ran on the basis of, I want to run America the way I run my businesses. Well, Mayor Bloomberg told us he was a fraud. He said, I know a con man when I see one. It's too bad the voters don't. But he knew that he was a financial fraud. Most of Manhattan, Wall Street knew he was a financial fraud. Most of the banks on Wall Street would not deal with him. Only Deutsche Bank would deal with him. So the business community knew. And he's just because he's a great, he's like, D.T. Barnum, Donald Trump Barnum, he's a great circus barker, and he creates an image that completely, through charismatic narcissism, completely bamboozles people. And he had just enough banks and ways of getting money for his casinos, money for his to build his skyscrapers. Then, of course, he's defrauding workers. He wouldn't pay his workers. He doesn't pay his lawyers. He's basically a fraud machine. And that's how he has built the image of his empire. It doesn't mean he doesn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have as much money as he told the voters he did, and he certainly doesn't have the business acumen. It wasn't the art of the deal. It was the art of the steal and the art of the fraud.
For those who may be hearing this program for the very first time, you may know, and I hope you know, after all the years I've been doing this, that my politics are unapologetically progressive. But that also means telling the truth, and I believe in that, and so do my guests. And Connie just put a truth on Front Street that you need to be aware of. When the Democrats once again had the opportunity to pass a bill declaring, demanding that any presidential candidate release their tax information, they punted. They did not do it. And had they done that then, we might not be in the situation now. But certainly Donald Trump, not once but twice, got away without releasing, having not to share with us his tax forms, his tax statements. And this is what you get when the light is finally shined on the reality of his financial situation. This is what you learn. But why didn't we know this? Why couldn't we have known this 8 years ago? I digress on that point. This is what happens when you hide stuff like that. Moving on, some of the issues to cover. A lot of things trending in this first hour today. So I don't know exactly what I expected. I don't know what you expected, kind of. I want to find out. But there are all kinds of bets inside the Beltway and outside of whether or not the government would, in fact, actually shut down last week. I was fascinated to read a number of polls that I found, again, really, really peculiar, that most Americans were not even checking for this. And what the polls underscored was that Americans have seen this game of chicken so many times that they were basically sort of checked out. They're watching football and whatever else they're doing, but they're basically sort of checked out on this because they've seen, again, this game of chicken played out so many times before. So I don't know if the American public thought the government would or would not shut down. Thankfully, it did not shut down for those who would have been harmed in the process. But Kevin McCarthy is being told by Matt Gaetz out of Florida he's going to pay a price for this, and they're going to bring to, if Matt Gaetz has his way, bring to the floor a vote. An immediate vote on his speakership. What do you make then of the government not shutting down, but more importantly for the moment, the infighting that's underway inside the Republican Party on the House side?
Well, it's fratricide in the clown car, as far as I can see. And McCarthy, I think he weighing his job on the one hand, and the financial and fiscal credit of the United States on the other hand, had a tough choice to make, I guess, for him. But in the end, I think he decided that he'd been bullied enough and humiliated enough by the crackpot caucus of the GOP, the MAGA nuts, and he decided to come to his senses and do what you said he needed to do 5 weeks ago, which was strike a deal. Because the Senate, of course, acted like the adults. They passed a bipartisan budget proposal that would not shut the government down. McCarthy had the choice of either going with something with the Dems, under the minority leaders, Hakeem Jeffries' leadership, they said, okay, let's bail him out now. But they're really bailing out the country. I don't think the voters know. They know that the crazy clown car is in charge right now because McCarthy made a deal to become speaker. They gave them inordinate power to throw him out of the speakership. And McCarthy wants that job so badly that he takes us to the brink once again. Reneged on a deal that he made with Biden to do a budget deal that would have averted a shutdown for a long time, but reneged on that as soon as his job got. So he's such a weak speaker. He may lose his job, but I'm sorry. It's what you and I said last time, which is, and he's doing what we told him to do. McCarthy is, bring it on. You want to take me out? You don't have anybody who can replace me. It took you 15 rounds to put me in. Let's go through that again if you want to. Yeah. Just tell them bring it on. And let's see what kind of chaos. So it's the chaos clowns who are in there with the QAnon shaman, I guess, as candidate for Secretary of State if Trump wins. These people are nuts. They're not Republicans. They're not conservatives. They're just extreme nuts. And to give them the levers of government is beyond irresponsible. It's malpractice. It's criminal. And that's it. And so Americans should be watching football because this is rated X. No one should have to watch this.
Matt Getz yesterday on one of the Sunday morning programs said, I do intend to file a motion to vacate against Speaker McCarthy this week. That was his commitment yesterday. And my sense is, before I move on here, my sense is kind of this is not the last motion to vacate dare that we're going to see over the next year or two. To your point, he got in a very precarious situation, and my sense is that this is that Matt Getz is the first one to do it. But there are going to be a number of other motion to vacate dares and votes called on his speakership. You think I'm right about that?
I think you're right. But right now, Gates, who you have to remember was under investigation for 2 years for trafficking teens across state lines for sexual purposes, he barely escaped that indictment. This nut is going to threaten McCarthy, which he makes McCarthy look reasonable, which tells you what frame we're in. Yeah. Now, he can continue to do that, but he's not getting he can't even get some of the conservative nut caucus to back him. So I don't even know if he's going to be able to do it. We'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure he'll be able to pull this off either. But every time this comes up, it's a huge story. It's a huge distraction. And we're going to be subject to this over and over and over again. I had my issues with Nancy Pelosi on a number of things from time to time, albeit I think all things considered, she was a great speaker. I had issues from time to time, but, man, I miss Nancy Pelosi right about now with all the drama that Kevin McCarthy and Republicans keep pulling us through. I digress on that for the moment. The Supreme Court, we'll talk more about this again in our second hour. The full hour, we'll talk about this new brilliant documentary series about the Supreme Court, a 4-part series now running on Paramount Plus and Showtime. Look forward to talking to Don Porter, the producer of that series, once again today in hour 2. But Connie is a brilliant lawyer, and the Supreme Court is opening its new term today. And I want to start with a broad question, and then we'll get to some of the issues they're going to be talking about in this term. But they were so disappointing in so many ways. Nobody trusts them anymore. Their poll numbers, I'm talking now about the Supreme Court, their poll numbers are in the toilet. And people are really looking at them with a sort of jaundiced eye, given this rightward shift. So before I talk about specific cases, I want to just tee up right quick that they're going to hear in this term. Your thoughts, Connie, about the return of this court, given all the damage they did the last term?
Boy, the question is, are they going to veer further right, or are they going to move back to a right-wing 6-3 court as opposed to the kind of extreme court? And, you've got Chief Justice Roberts, who wants to destroy rights incrementally so that we don't get too shocked. And then you've got the wrecking ball caucus of the Supreme Court that did Dobbs, just ripped away a 50-year right for women to control their bodies and have reproductive freedom when they ended access, and they just took away constitutional protection for what women do with their bodies. And with that, we're still in post-Dobbs shock, so we're still having those shock waves. Now, the question for this term is, are they going to continue to go further to the right, or are they going to go a little bit further back toward the center? They're not in the center, but back toward the center.
And what if you were voting? If you were betting, how'd you bet? How would you bet on your own question?
I think it goes case by case this time.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got an interesting lineup. I think the most important of the cases is the cluster of administrative law cases, asking, do federal agencies, which are their opinions are based on experts, scientists, doctors, and so forth, like the EPA, the Federal Reserve, all of these agencies that actually issue the rules that make our water clean, our air safer, air traffic control regulated, and so forth, do those agencies still have the power to make those regulations, or does a judge get to step in and substitute her judgment for the experts of that agency? So there are a couple of cases. It's about limiting agency control to be able to make rules. And you've got a Federal Reserve case. You've got a fisheries case. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Then you've got an SEC. Can the SEC, for example, issue rules to enforce securities fraud? And that's the Jarkizi case. Mm-hmm. The Raimundo case is about boats. Can fishing vessels, be required to pay for and have on their boats monitors to make sure that the boats aren't overfishing in violation of federal law? Can a federal agency do that, or does a judge have to authorize it, or does Congress have to authorize that specific rule? And then finally, the Consumer Finance Protection Agency is challenging how that agency was funded. So if the courts decide, and then the abortion pill case is closed, can the FDA adopt 1,000 doctors' opinions that the abortion pill is safe, and 5 million abortions with that pill show that it's safe? Can a judge come in 20 years later and say, FDA didn't have that power, we're taking this pill off the counters? That's the kind of, so that's what I meant by existential.
Mm-hmm.
If agencies can't make rules, we are going to be safer, dumber, and deader. And but what it does, it fulfills the right wing destruction of democracy, destruction of government agenda by taking away the power.
No, that's the key point. These cases that kind of just laid out, I hope you followed all of that, really underscore that the term the Supreme Court is now starting today is going to really look at the role, the proper role, and the power of government, specifically government agencies. And to her point, if they rule a particular way, then we're going to be less safe, we're going to be dumber, we're going to be more vulnerable. We'll digress on that for the moment. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is getting a pass on having to appear at a court hearing in New York City today. New Jersey's senior senator was supposed to appear in person to face federal bribery charges, but the judge overseeing the case has agreed to excuse the Democratic lawmaker so he can stay in Washington, D.C. for Senate business. Nebraska is one of the worst states in the U.S. when it comes to racial disparity in incarceration rates. A study by the Prison Policy Initiative finds black people make up almost 5% of Nebraska's population, but nearly a quarter of the state's jail population. The study says Nebraska has the 7th worst disproportion of inmates, as the incarceration rate for blacks in the state is more than 9 times that rate for whites. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Still seeing that trouble as you travel La Crescenta to wreck on the 210 eastbound at Ocean View Boulevard. Onto the right shoulder now. We're busy from Latuna Canyon. Looks like a wreck on that 170 south in Magnolia, North Hollywood area. That's made it to the right side. See that busy drive, though, as far back as Sherman Way. The 134 eastbound approaching the 5. This is Griffith Park, Glendale. Earlier troubles cleared from a center traffic lane. Right as you get to Forest Lawn Drive, you're on and off the brakes. Stalled vehicles still affecting our 60 westbound at Hacienda Boulevard. Stalled vehicle in a center lane were loaded up from Azusa Avenue.
At your Amazon Fresh store, you can rely on roasted chicken for $4.97, 2-pound bunches of bananas for 99 cents, French bread for 89 cents, and more. Visit your local Amazon Fresh store for low prices from A to Z and head to Amazon.com/savewithfresh to see this week's deals.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. A good day for both of LA's NFL teams. The Chargers and Rams are 2-2 after close wins. The Chargers beat the Raiders by 7 despite getting shut out in the second half. Linebacker Khalil Mack had 6 sacks, one shy of the NFL single-game record. The Rams get an overtime win at Indianapolis after blowing a 23-point lead. 22-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford to Puka Nacua in OT gave the Rams a walk-off win. The Rams play Philadelphia next Sunday at SoFi. For the second straight year, the Dodgers finished the regular season with 100 wins. The Dodgers are off until Saturday. They will play the winner of the Arizona-Milwaukee series. The best-of-3 series starts on Tuesday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
You can do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name? Let me talk to you. Let me buy you a drink.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
She's so smooth. So
I'm interrupting my own shower to remind you to treat your skin like the queen she is with Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash. Packed with Olay's highest level of vitamin B3 complex. It's so moisturizing that it will give you visibly smoother, head-turning skin in just 14 days. People wondering, how'd she get so smooth? Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash. Also, try Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion.
Klein tools are new at Lowe's, pros. Lowe's knows you want top brands and quality products, and Klein Tools delivers. Right now, get the Klein 3-piece ModBox mobile workstation for $319.94 and the Klein 5-piece cushion grip screwdriver set for just $34.97, both exclusively at Lowe's. Shop the largest selection of Klein tools, the highest quality tool brand at Lowe's. Because Lowe's knows tools, Lowe's knows pros.
To some, this might sound like a typical family dog. But at Dog Chow, we know that for a veteran suffering from PTSD, this could be the sound of life-saving therapy.
Thanks, Betty.
That's why we've made it our mission to connect every military hero in need with a canine hero of their own. To learn about the simple ways you can help Dog Chow in our mission, visit dogchow.com/veterans.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Indeed, Tavis Smiley talking to Connie Rice as we plow through a number of trending political topics in this first hour. Once again, our second hour today, the Supreme Court is back in session today. It's a new term. We talk about a powerful new documentary series in hour 2 called Deadlocked, How America Shaped the Supreme Court. We'll talk to the filmmaker behind that project, Don Porter. It's now streaming on Paramount Plus and Showtime. In our third hour, a conversation with the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. We're launching today on WVOM, 1690 AM. We'll talk to your mayor in Chicago today at the top of hour 3, and then we will be joined by Aaron Neville, out with a finally has written his memoir. We'll talk to Aaron Neville in hour 3. We continue now, as I said, though, with Connie Rice. Connie, before I get to these two major stories, black women have had quite a few days. Well, the past few days, a couple of black women have done some pretty amazing things. LaFonza Butler will be a new African-American woman in the United States Senate, sitting in the seat once occupied by Dianne Feinstein. My commentary about that and Connie's thoughts about that in a moment. In case you also missed it, Harvard, where Connie spent some time, has a black woman as its president. A black woman is now leading Harvard, in case you missed that story. We'll talk about that in just a moment as well. Before I do either of those, Connie, one final thing. I want to just close this circle on the Supreme Court. So the new term begins today. I assume at this moment, I want to be wrong about this, but speaking of earlier, our conversation about Democrats not always having the spine that they need to have, they refused to pass legislation to demand that all presidential candidates show their tax returns when they had control. They didn't do it, and now you get Donald Trump in a case today showing all the lies that he told about his net worth. That case underway literally as we speak in New York State, brought by Letitia James, the black woman attorney general in the state of New York. So that's where we end up. My question is whether or not at this point Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito have gotten away with all of their nonsense, all of the money and all of the luxury gifts and all the travel. That was a huge story. And Democrats could have been a great deal more aggressive about that. This was their moment to do something about this out of control Supreme Court, specifically where Clarence Thomas is concerned. But when I look at it at this moment, it feels like now that all has been said and done, more was said than will be done.
Absolutely right. There's going to be more talk. We'll see if the talk gets momentum, because right now the American people are saying they want an ethics code. They want an ethics code for the Supreme Court. They want some restrictions. Not enough people, only 44% want the court expanded, but they have the Supreme Court is in the tank. They're down there with used car salesmen in terms of approval at this point. So, but the thing of it is, the people who are flying them around on these jets and billion-dollar jets and $100,000 vacations and whatnot, they're the same people lobbying to deregulate the FDA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they, they're actually catering to the class, the people, the billionaire class, who want government not to regulate them, not to tax them, not to control them, not to restrain them. And that's why it's more than an appearance of impropriety. I think this borders on malpractice.
Yeah. And yet, to your point and to my point, it appears that Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito will get away with this. Clarence Thomas, I should say, once again. He's been doing it for years. Nothing seems to have happened. All we're talking about now is the new term of the court. But Democrats have not taken the opportunity, given the power that they do have, to do something about this out-of-control Supreme Court and all of this this merrymaking and hanging out with friends and again, impropriety, as Connie put it. But I digress. Just want to take her temperature on that. So to these two black women who made quite a bit of news over the last few days, let me start with Claudine Gay. Connie spent some time, of course, on the campus of Harvard, and Harvard inaugurated its first black president. A sister named Claudine Gay. She gave a pretty amazing speech. I got a chance to check it out. But let me just say this, Connie. I always have an uneasy relationship with African American First. As you know, I've been an African American First in many parts of my career. The first black person to host his own show on NPR. The first black person to have his own TV show every night on PBS. So I've been blessed in a number of parts of my career to be an African American First. And yet, as time goes on, I feel some sort of way about that, because what it does is it reminds me certainly, of all the things that we have been not allowed to do, all the places and spaces that we've been kept out of. So on the one hand, I celebrate these African American first. On the other hand, it's not that there weren't Negroes prior to who were qualified to do it. They just never got the opportunity. I quote my friend Jesse Jackson, speaking of Chicago, that Jackie Roosevelt Robinson wasn't the first Negro who could play with the white boys. He's the first one they gave the opportunity to play with the white boys. And so I celebrate these African American first, but it always gives me an uneasy feeling because it reminds me of all the ways that we have been denied. That's my take. What's your read on this sister who now is running Harvard of all places?
She gets a standing ovation for me, and I agree with you. As tokens, you and I are both tokens. We operate in the top 10% of this country.
There's a thought for the day. We are both tokens. Okay, Connie, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
That's right. Just understand where you are and what frame you're in, okay? Please, you really think there weren't people smarter than me that came before me? Please, they could run circles around me. They just weren't allowed through the door. Yeah. They had to die for us. They died opening the door for you and me. Mm-hmm. Let's just be very clear about that. Yes. All we had to do was walk through.
That's right.
That's right. Okay. So, but nonetheless, I celebrate all these firsts: the first astronaut, the first president of Harvard. All of these things are important symbols. They do not get to the systemic inequality, which is now getting worse. Mm-hmm. It's accelerating. And we are in the midst of the biggest retrenchment, and make America white again, white lash, that we've seen since post-Reconstruction. And that's the frame we're in. So doesn't mean we don't celebrate these gains. Without them, the other thing that it communicates is it makes white Americans who are indifferent to African American issues, and that's the majority, not hostile but indifferent to, They look at that as a sign that things are okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other problem with FIRST, is that, we are still making progress, but progress in this country isn't a crystal stair.
Yeah.
It's not an arc. It's a jagged back and forth.
Yeah.
2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 5 steps forward, 10 steps back. And with Obama's election as the first African-American president, we went 10 steps forward, and now we're going 20 steps back.
Yeah. And that's my concern, that every time we celebrate these African-American firsts, and they ought to be acknowledged, they ought to be celebrated, but it reminds us again of the individual success that we have, but not the collective. There are always a few Negroes who can squeeze through. As Connie said, we're all tokens. I received that. We squeeze through, but we have individual success, but the collective, African-Americans still lag far behind white folk in every single leading economic indicator category. The collective is still in trouble, even as certain individuals squeeze through. That said, we congratulate Claudine Gay, the first African-American, only the second woman to lead Harvard University. Congratulations to President Gay. When we come forward, we'll talk about U.S. Senator LaFonza Butler. Gavin Newsom had to select someone to fill the seat of Dianne Feinstein, but I've got some issues with this. I can't wait to hear what Connie's take is. I haven't heard her take on this, but I'm going to give you my take on Gavin Newsom picking a black woman to be a seat warmer. We'll talk about that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
King C. Gillette knows you're dedicated to your barbershop routine. But what about after? What's your routine for facial hair to avoid dry skin, itching, and beard rough? Well, the King C. Gillette Beard Oil is a perfect fit for making your beard feel as good as it looks. It softens your facial hair and moisturizes to help prevent itch due to dry skin. Get facial hair that feels as good as it looks. Just trim, wash, and soften. With King C. Gillette.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter. Locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Yo, J Balvin here. Verizon just hooked me up with a new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium. How can you get one? By switching to my plan at your Verizon store, get the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro on them. When you trade in any iPhone, any model, any condition, guaranteed. And listen to my new song, Dientes, on your way to get the new iPhone 15 Pro.
Don't miss out. Switch to my plan from Verizon today. It's your Verizon. $999.99, 128 gigabyte only. Device payment purchase or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on unlimited ultimate plan required. Less $1,000 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
All right, Connie, let me quickly give you my take on LaFonza Butler as the selection of California Governor Gavin Newsom to fill the seat the remaining days of the seat that Dianne Feinstein once held. Of course, Feinstein passed away last week, serving 30 years in the Senate representing California. So a choice had to be made. And Gavin Newsom has chosen a black woman named LaFonza Butler, who we all know well around these parts. A former labor leader turned power player, now will be serving in the Senate. And here's my read on this. And for those around the country who have been seeing and hearing stories about Gavin Newsom and this upcoming debate he's going to have with Ron DeSantis, and you think that he's some sort of champion, let me just tell you about the Gavin Newsom that I know and the Gavin Newsom that we know here in the state of California before you see this debate and get all turned on by Gavin Newsom. This is the same Gavin Newsom, number one, who refused to endorse Karen Bass when she ran for mayor of this city. She's running against this billionaire named Rick Caruso, who tried every trick in the book to stop her from winning that race. And Gavin Newsom said, I know both of them. Now, Karen's a Democrat and you're a Democrat. Gavin Newsom, for you listening in the national audience, refused to endorse Karen Bass as mayor of this city. He suggested the idea of looking at reparations, and now he's moonwalking on reparations, particularly when it comes to payments. The same Gavin Newsom who had a chance to put someone in the seat that Kamala Harris had when she became vice president, a black woman, pulled off something historic, being elected to the U.S. Senate in this state. He doesn't replace her with a black woman. He put a Latino in that seat, Alex Padilla, who I know. I ain't hating on Alex. You get an opportunity, you take it. But if a black woman runs and wins that seat, shouldn't that have been the moment where you put a black woman in the United States Senate to replace Kamala Harris? You didn't. You went the other way and you put a Latino in that seat. He said there'd be no precondition. He said that one of his conditions, rather, would be that whoever you appointed to the seat would not run. Well, somehow he backed off of that, and at least there are no preconditions to LaFonza Butler accepting this seat, but he changed his sort of view on that. I could go on and on and on. I want to just give you a sense of the way that I see Gavin Newsom playing black folk. I don't like it. I don't like it with anybody. Plays these games with black voters, takes us for granted, exploits us. LaFonza Butler is at best a seat warmer. Barbara Lee, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, all members of the House are running for that seat right now. But he puts a black woman in this seat with only a few months left to go. But he had a real opportunity to do something on the Kamala Harris seat, and he didn't. He didn't endorse Karen Bass. He's moonwalking on reparations. So I want to just give you the other side of Gavin Newsom that you may not see. When we come forward, I'll give all the rest of the time to Connie Rice to tell you what she thinks about this historic appointment. Again, this is no hate on LaFonza Butler. But there are questions being raised about whether LaFonza even lives in California. She owns property here, but does she live here? We could have called Stacey Abrams or Keisha Lance Bottoms. We just wanted a black woman to represent California in the Senate, no matter where they lived. I'm not hating on LaFonza, but this choice and the way that Gavin Newsom went about doing it and playing black folk as if we're stupid. We got you elected. We saved you during the recall. We got you reelected. I don't like playing these kinds of games with black folk. I digress. Connie Rice will have the final moments when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
Gotta stay fresh, ma.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank, NA member FDIC.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
5 minutes left, Connie Rice. They're all yours. Forgive me for not being excited about LaFonza Butler as a seat warmer. That's my take, but that's not important. I want to hear your take. All yours.
It's equally important, Tavis. But as you know, this won't be the first time, won't be the last. I'm probably wandered off the plantation on this one. I'm looking at Gavin Newsom, and I see a man running for president.
Mm-hmm.
You know that when folks run for president, everything is a calculation.
Sure.
And Newsom is just looking at the math. It doesn't matter what promises he made. When it came time to replace, Kamala Harris ran a brilliant race at the right time and had the backing of the national machine behind her. She won that Senate race for some very special reasons. She had the brilliant Willie Brown backing her. It was the right time, right woman, right race, right? You move down to where Newsom is saying, okay. He's looking at the fact that this state is almost 40% Latino.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4% black. So what's going to advance his presidential prospects better? And Alex Padilla, as you know, is an ally of ours. He's a friend of ours.
Sure.
And so this is not about Alex Padilla, but this is about a cold calculation. He's doing the math. Newsom is doing the math. So he's also doing the math here. Now, we're 5 weeks from the primary. You've got three top Democratic contenders, Barbara Lee, Schiff, and Porter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Barbara Lee's at 7%, and Schiff and Porter look like they're the two top runners. They're probably going to be in the runoff, and Barbara Lee probably won't make it.
Right.
Things could change in the next 5 weeks. But Newsom's not going to weigh in on that. To what advantage? The math doesn't add up. So, I'm just taking a cold political eye to this. Reparations doesn't poll well.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to walk back on that. He's going to support the parts of the poll that say 60% of Californians do believe that slavery, the vestiges of slavery, still hamper African Americans, but they don't want to do it through cash payments. He's going to go with the other stuff in the poll. Okay, he's not going to go with reparations, the cash payment reparations. So all I'm saying is, look, LaFonza Butler is a queen maker.
Mm-hmm.
She's got incredible labor, women's chops, women and feminism chops. She's got incredible LGBTQ chops. That's probably closer to Feinstein's portfolio than anything that Barbara Lee has. And she comes with help in a presidential election. Plus, she was a senior advisor to Kamala Harris in her campaign for vice president. So, I take nothing away from either of these wonderful leaders, Lee or Butler, but I understand what Newsom is doing.
Yep. I get it too. I just don't like it. I know. I totally get it. But I ain't got to like it. And at the end of the day, you can follow the Matt. And the reason why it's a beautiful thing to be syndicated is you can talk to a broader audience and let people know, when Gavin Newsom does in fact decide he's running for president, because everybody knows that's what it's all about somewhere down the road, and maybe sooner than you think. Who knows? Put a pin in that for the moment. But I want them to see him in a 360 view, not just, a partial, 45 degree angle. I want you to see him all the way around. And this is the way that he is so calculating about everything he does. Now, on the one hand, I'm not naive. That's what politicians do. They calculate. I get it. But I'm at the point in my life, I am sick of being a political calculation. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of being a calculation by politicians who only want to do X, Y, and Z to advance their own ends and aims. In the process, black folk get exploited. I don't like it. Enough said. I'm done with it for now. I thank Connie Rice for coming on today to unpack these political issues. We'll do it again down the road. Connie, have a great day. I appreciate you, and I love you.
Appreciate you too. Love you too, Tavis. Take care.
Thank you. Hour 2 of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is getting a pass on having to appear at a court hearing in New York City today. New Jersey's senior